What's up, all you hitchhikers? Welcome back to another episode of The Strange Road.
What's going on?
I'm Mikey. This is Bub. As always, we have Stoner in the background hitting all the important buttons.
The wizard.
The tech wizard behind the scenes.
The whiz.
Bub, we got a pretty awesome guest today. Pretty dope episode.
Yep.
We have been waiting for this one. We have a project that we've been working on for a bit. We filmed a awesome video with our guest today, Thomas Johnson, back a little over a year now, and we decided to turn this video of Tom's Serpent Mound Impact Crater tour that he's been giving for about 25 years.
Wow.
So we decided, hey, let's have Tom on. We released the video today. You guys can check it out. The link's in the description. And to see that full, it's about 20 some minutes with credits. It's a little over 20 minutes long, but it's a really nice presentation and tour of the Serpent Mound Impact Crater, which everyone knows Serpent Mound, but
not many people know there was an impact crater.
This crater is unreal.
Most people don't know there's an impact crater there.
Right. But we met Tom for a while ago now. Stopped in at his rock shop. Met Tom and Terri. We've helped them out with a few of their events. The Serpent Mound Star Knowledge Peace Summits that they have on the equinoxes, different times of the year, solstices and so forth. And so we've kind of gotten to know Tom and his wife, Terri, amazing people.
Yeah.
And really during COVID gave us a shot to help them kind of show that some of the virtual event stuff that we had been really kind of try to make happen. So we really appreciated them. But
well, and it's that whole, again, the philosophy of only so many people might make it there. There's a lot of people that might want to participate in some way or be able to view it and at least see it. And I think that's kind of that function and that niche that we're trying to get into and fill is we want to preserve this stuff. We want to be able to share this with people. I don't want to be the only one that gets to go there and then just talk about it. Right. I'd like if you can see it and understand it too and, get that kind of knowledge level from it, instead of just me reiterating it to you.
Exactly. But, Tom has been in the Serpent Mound area forever, really researching trilobites, and I'm actually going to kick it over to our guest, Tom, to tell us a little bit about, I don't want to try to intro you. I want you to be able to kind of give us a little bit of background of how you, first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We always have a great time hanging out with you. But yeah, I just really love to give you the floor and a little bit of background of how you ended up in such a mystical, weird area.
Well, it began back in the it actually began back in the 70s, and I decided that I was tired of building Cadillacs in Detroit for General Motors, and I figured out a way to go into business and be self-supportive. So I came to Ohio, and southern Ohio, where some people had kind of cued me into different areas to collect fossils, specifically trilobites. And it's been a lifelong passion already. And so I moved to Ohio in '78 and began searching the stream beds and collecting and selling as I had been doing previously. But I was an entrepreneur, and it was just a different way of life. I didn't have anybody telling me what to do or how to do it, and I kind of like that. I broke away from that part of the matrix, if you will, and so I've been enjoying it ever since. And it takes you to nature every day, and all the responsibility is on yourself. So with that, I don't have a problem working 7 days a week because it's not really work. It's something that you enjoy to do.
Right.
And I hear that frequently in the shop. People come in and say, "You don't know how lucky you are." So I can appreciate those words. And but when I came here, one of the reasons I came to the area was the Serpent Mound crypto explosion structure. And one of the guys that I had looked into in the past, Dr. John Locke, back in the 1830s, he did research on the crater where I'm living now on the very edge of it. And he said the geology was upside down. And I've been studying geology most of my life, working with the trilobites, and not on a formal level, but on my own level. And it was just interesting to see the geology upside down. And it's like, how did that happen? So I've spent many, many years looking at it and observing it and figuring out a few things that people have never really looked at. And but these things don't come overnight. They come over years and years of work.
Right.
And it's just like the paleontology. It's the same thing. You'll look at fossils, thousands and thousands of specimens, and then one day it clicks. It goes, aha! You got the aha moment.
Right.
And so I've had several aha moments since I've been here. And at what brought me to the actual crater, I was living off-site several miles away doing research on our state fossil, the Isotylus. And it's a large trilobite, and that's one of the things that attracted me to southern Ohio was these big trilobites. In fact, they're the largest trilobites of that particular kind in the world. And so being into paleontology and wanting to get bigger, badder, better things, I moved here.
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me when I was in Egypt and said, you need to go to Serpent Mound and take some pictures. And I said, well, I know where that is. So
Wait, you're in Egypt and somebody says you need to go to Serpent Mound in Ohio?
exactly,
That's so weird.
It was a
Wow.
It was part of a world peace movement. And
so great.
so I was on tour over there, and so I came up to Serpent Mound, and on the way up, I passed by this old house that's for sale, and I like the architecture. I always admired it, and I noticed there's a guy working on it all the time and
Yeah.
fixing it up. And come to find out, he tried to sell it, and everybody in the area knew the history of the house.
Except you, yeah.
Except me, right. and I had no previous knowledge of the history of that house, but I
Right.
liked the architecture. So I went to the bank, and the day that I signed the papers was the day that the price of the house dropped in half. And even the local bank knew about this house, right? So we get this house, and we're there the first day, and this guy shows up that used to own the house. He lived there. He grew up there, and he says, have you seen any spoofs yet? And I said, what's that? He said, oh, you'll find out.
Oh, my
And we
gosh.
did. We found out pretty quick, but the house is definitely a porthole for coming and goings of different spirits.
Okay.
And they're not mean. They're actually very comical.
Yeah.
And so I lived with that for years and experienced a lot of unusual phenomena that you don't see on TV or it's not written about, but
Right.
yet it was happening. And I'm going like, well, what is this all about?
And there's a moments, that you don't catch it on camera, you don't get it recorded, whatever it is. It happened. You existed through it. How do you explain it to somebody else? How do you even try to frame this up and
Right.
get somebody to understand it the way you experienced it, right?
Yeah, and it's getting the even the paranormal people that have come to do the research, and they walk away scratching their head, going like, I don't know if I want to come back,
Really?
because there's things that happen that they're not explained, and I think the most bizarre thing that happens there is there will be two of me, or two of Terri, or two of somebody else that comes to visit.
Are you talking about doppelgangers?
Well, doppelgangers are kind of like that.
No, and what I mean is I had never heard of, I know there's doppelgangers out there, like there's somebody that looks like you, right? Or looks like Mike, or looks like me.
Right.
What I mean in the doppelganger sense of how I'm saying it now is the doppelganger phenomena of there is somebody that looks exactly like me. People see me in town. I won't respond to them or say anything. And
They
Mike
don't
comes
know
up to
you.
me, 2 weeks later and goes, hey, man, the hell, I saw you, at the light and I waved at you and I know you saw me and you just wouldn't wave back. And I know it was you. It was your car even. Sometimes it even goes that far to, it was your vehicle you were in.
Right.
And the doppelganger doesn't respond. And the person that's being accused is like, what are you talking about? So you mean instances like that happening?
Yes, and it's, well, the most recent one, Terri is just coming back from Serpent Mound. She goes up there every day, walks around, prays, and she saw me working in the corner of the yard on some mushrooms that were just carved, morel mushrooms. And I was standing there with the carver, and it was hot. I had a towel around my neck, and she pulls in the driveway, and there's cars in the driveway, and the shop door's open. He goes, oh my gosh, there's nobody in the shop. I've got to go in there and wait on these people, because
Right.
that happens.
Right.
And she goes in the shop, and there I am behind the counter waiting on people. And she said,
What?
you're out there in the yard. No, I'm right here.
Wait.
So-
sorry. You were outside the shop.
Right,
Terri shows up
right,
and says nobody's in the shop.
right.
She goes in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the shop, but you're not in the shop.
Right. I'm in the shop and I'm out there.
Did she talk to you in the shop?
Yes. Oh, yes. That was me in the shop. Now, what was out there where the carver was at the mushrooms
Was not you.
was not
The
me.
one at the mushroom carving wasn't you. You were in the shop.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was the other way around for a
Wow.
second. So
Yeah.
the one
I'm
out by the
following that.
mushroom
Yep.
carving, who saw you out there?
Terri. So, and that's happened multiple times. And
Did anybody else witness the other you with the carvings?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of. Now,
is
it's happened numerous times, and it's. I think it has to do with splitting of dimensions,
Yeah.
and because I've been out there before with that guy. All right, it's like maybe
Right.
it's being played back.
Yep. It's
Or
like
it's-
recorded, energetically recorded,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you're seeing almost like a
memory.
hologram or the holographic playback.
Right.
What if it's actually like you're
Bending-
saying with universes?
Bending space time. It's that area kind of, and we'll get into some of the.
What if it's different realities?
electromagnet-
What if it is you from another
Right.
plane of existence?
Right.
splitting out there, too.
Another example was Terri. We were getting ready for a sweat lodge, and Terri was inside the shop, and she was dressed. She had just had her plain street clothes on. She was in the back sitting at the desk talking to people, and Frank, the son-in-law, he had to go to the house to get something for a customer. And he goes down the walkway, and the sweat lodge is sitting right there, and he didn't think anything about it. But Terri was out at the sweat lodge, directing people to do things. All right, in regalia, full regalia. And he goes in the house and he comes back into the shop and he looks at Terri and he says, "You were out there. You're out there dressed in the sweat lodge. He says, but you're back there. You're dressed differently." Terri says, "I've been here all the time." Well, it made a believer out of him.
Whoa.
So did he, after he saw her there, did he
No,
to go back?
he didn't go back out.
He's probably freaked out like I would have been.
Yeah, it kind of changed his perspective about what we've been saying.
Yeah.
And, but that's happened. It's happened numerous times, and it's even the paranormal people that came to investigate. Good example. They came. There's 6 people, and they had 3 teams broke up, and one of the teams was upstairs working, and Terri and I are sitting on the porch. It's in the evening. They have the house wired for sound. The road noise was real low. And the one gal comes downstairs and opens up the door and walks out on the porch and then walks down the steps. And Terri says, "How's it going up there?" She'd been up there for like an hour. She didn't say anything. She walks down the front lawn, looks around, turns around, comes right back in the house and goes back upstairs. An hour later, her and her mom came downstairs. They're standing on the porch and Terri says, "How come you didn't talk to me when you came downstairs?" And she goes, "I've been up there for 2 hours." So it happens.
I got chills.
It
Yeah,
happens
right.
with more than one person.
Right. So you
Wow.
have verification from,
Jeez.
it could understand some criticism if it's just you and Terri.
Right. Carbon monoxide
But
poisoning.
when you have
Right.
people, you have people from, that aren't living as a part of your family that are just coming in and having these experiences during visits and just completely random times. Is there anything with the weather that's happening? Is there anything peculiar with, some of the things that we talk about with the impact crater is
Well, yeah.
some of these energy flows
Right.
and so
Definitely
forth.
protected from the weather. We're in a very low spot there. But being on the southeastern corner of the crater, when the cloud energies come in and impact the crater on the western side, they tend to get dissipated and go around and float over top of us.
Yeah.
So consequently, we've had several tornadoes since I've lived there.
circles
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
And-
It hits it and pushes it around.
Right,
to
and
you.
that's been witnessed by hundreds of people at one of our events it happened.
So early on in the house,
remember that.
when you move in, and so you move in, you buy the property, and then you meet Terri, and you guys basically start the rock shop and so forth. So
Right.
how long were you living in the house when you had just got there, and then Terri comes in? Is this activity happening right away?
Yeah,
Oh wow,
yeah, but Terri was a customer of mine in the rock shop
gotcha.
for almost 20 years before I married her.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
But my previous wife got to witness some of it, so
sure. So
maybe
t-
that's why she left. I don't know.
So when you have so you start the rock shop, so you buy the property first.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the rock shop, because it's amazing, and people that drive by, you really have to, if you're coming in from Columbus or anywhere from the eastern side of Ohio, you'll come in through basically Locust Grove, and on the right hand side, right before you take your left onto, which road is it there?
73.
It's 73.
Right.
There's the House of Fake Ops Rock Shop right on the right hand side. And can you explain the signage and kind of how you guys? Because I really love the turtle with the Serpent Mound kind of combined
Yeah.
Right.
as your logo.
Well, I picked that spot because of location,
Yeah.
and there's no other rock shops in the area, which
Yep.
is nice. You have no competition.
Yeah.
But I welcome competition. But it was just an ideal spot for business because I could see the flow of tourism through there. And when you have that flow of traffic, it's not just tourism. The people that come to that area are into natural history and archaeology and all the weird stuff that goes with it. And
Right,
so
right.
it was put a sign out front and open up the front room of my house, and that was my rock shop. And people just started coming. I didn't have to advertise. I just sat a sign out there.
Put
and
a
here they
sign
come.
up.
Yeah.
Man, it's great.
So it has supported us for 27 years now.
I wanted to ask you a question. Just you said you had this lifelong interest in fossils and etc. How did that get started? Were you a kid and found a fossil? Were you?
Yeah, I grew up on. I spent my summers on Lake Erie on the Canadian side.
Oh,
My
beautiful.
mom was Canadian.
Yeah.
We lived in Detroit. We'd go over to Windsor and down the coastline of Lake Erie.
Okay.
And I would always sit on the beach and look for rocks, like 3, 4, 5 years old.
Sure.
And I was always drawn to symmetry.
Yeah.
I always looked at these, they call them crinoid stems. They're little tiny animals that have a star-shaped pattern to them. They're echinoderms, related
Okay.
to starfish and sea
Yeah.
urchins.
Yeah.
I'm always picking those things up, right? And those things came from a glacier hundreds of miles away from northern Michigan.
Okay.
So they were pushed down, the gravel gets turned over. I'm sitting there as a little kid picking up things. And I found this one interesting piece. It's called a blastoid. And when I found it, I thought it was something an Indian made because there was a perfect star on it. And it looked like some kind of a gadget you would put on pottery, like a design.
That's so cool.
Wow.
And my minister in church, I grew up, they tried to train me to be Methodist, but my minister was an archaeologist. So in the first grade, I didn't know anything about the Bible. I learned a lot about archaeology because that was taught in Sunday school.
Wow.
And so I showed an interest in that. And so I automatically thought that it was some kind of artifact.
Yeah.
But when I showed it to him, he thought, no, that's not an artifact. That's something else. And then my third grader science teacher keyed in on it, and he said, oh, he got all excited, made a big deal out of it, and said, this is a blastoid, and it's from northern Michigan, and blah, 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 blah.
That's so
and
cool.
named it. And I go, that really perked my interest.
Well, having that amount
Wow.
of information and insight into picking up a piece of
As a kid at such a young age.
scrap on the beach
Yeah.
and going, there's a whole story here. That's what unlocks before you, right? They just like
Right.
time traveling
It's
and
the mystery.
absolutely. My wife and I were just in Panama and not finding a fossil, but I'm a rock hound. I like to pick up rocks when we're on different trips, etc. She comes back from the beach and she goes, hey, look at this huge crystal that I found. And she pulls this, it's about the size of a milk dud. right? It's like this perfect looking crystal. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, of course you find one of these. The first time you go down to the beach, I'm the one that's always combing the rocks for him, and I don't find anything. I found one little one. It looked like something you would buy. It was polished. It was beautiful. So I get the drive and allure to how much that can hold in those little pieces, right? You know, just there's such a depth to it that just gets overlooked.
Every piece is a memory too.
100%.
And that's the thrill of discovery.
Yes.
And so I've always been after that.
That's great.
Chasing it.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to learn the answer to that mystery.
Yeah.
And it took years to figure it out, but it started a lot.
Sure.
But
And
that's
you got hooked.
Yeah.
You got hooked. You solved your first mystery, and it's like, wow, I need the next one and the next one. And here you are all those years later still chasing it.
I call it the rabbit hole. Right?
Well, you are deep into the rabbit hole. I mean, just the simple fact of where you live and the amount of people that come to the shop, and being right by Serpent Mound as people are driving in and, hey, let's stop here, and they get to meet you, which that was our experience when we went to the rock shop for the first time. Ron, Stone, TJ was there. We all stopped in, and because like I said, I had been to your events before, but we never actually met. Like, I didn't feel like bothering you guys. You're running the event and things are all crazy, but to actually like come in and actually get to chat. But you sent us to the serpent, the rock serpent down below that day, and said make sure you go check out the water serpent, which is down below in the Brush Creek. So we took a little hike down there, and that place is very, very special.
It is.
It's a really magical place right underneath Serpent Mound.
A lot of energy there. And we had one instance where a fellow went down there, Alan Skelly, and he lives in the area. He's a lawyer, and he went down there in the winter, and the pools of water, the ice was in circles, little circular patterns all the way around the edges.
Vortexes?
Yeah, and they just kept going down and down and down. And that spot where that one puddle was, is he had been there the summer before and passed out when he walked over that spot from the energy. Just collapsed. Didn't have a heart attack, he just passed out.
Maybe got too charged up from all of it pouring. I mean,
yeah, it
makes me think of Sedona and those vortexes that come up out of the ground. And I know there's been studies done out in that area of the world.
NASA studied them.
Yeah, and figuring out the energy coming out of the earth.
The crater is a natural vortex.
Yeah.
So it's.
Do you think the impact released energy somehow? Not from the crater itself, maybe, but from the earth?
It created that hole in the ground to release energy. And it traps it. It, like I say, it affects the weather. It affects people, cars, computers, batteries.
Yeah.
And then when you experience what happens when you see somebody driving a brand new car and they say, knock, 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 I need a tow truck because my brand new rental car's dead. And you go like, welcome to the vortex, welcome to the crater.
So you need a tow truck with real Clydesdales.
And there's a towing service across the street, AAA, and
that's awesome.
Mr. McFarland will go out there and he'll stop and say, "There's nothing wrong with that car." I said, "Well,"
and there's no explanation as to why they just stopped working.
No, well, there's ground energy.
Well, I mean, overtly outside of check the car.
Right.
Car's fine.
And film crews have had problems with that in the past.
Batteries.
They're trying to get a clip, and the battery's dead. The battery's dead. What do you do? So
really,
yeah.
That's so wild.
And I hear it constantly. Even GPS, navigational systems, they'll be running backwards. You'll be going west in the crater, and all of a sudden it says you're going east.
What?
Yeah.
Magnetic anomalies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we have a little clip about some of this stuff from the Impact Crater DVD that we're going to roll.
Rein me in from time to time.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. But I only chose two, and those are the two clips that we have from the DVD that we're going to talk about.
I was going to ask him about the doppelgangers real quick before I forget.
Let's totally get back to that.
Oh, okay.
If there's,
I had a question.
Yeah, let's get back into that.
Whether or not I have multiple questions, but the first one is, with the doppelgangers, do you think that is a Serpent Mound thing, or do you think that's a phenomenon from your house? And it's the spirits or entities' energy taking that doppelganger form, and that's why they don't say anything, but they can kind of like generate these.
I think it has to do with the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
because I haven't witnessed elsewhere in the crater that
Okay.
happening.
And don't hear this from other people in the
No.
town or community.
No.
Okay.
So it's just there, and it's it's a phenomena that makes you take back and look and say, well, what is this all about?
Yeah.
Because Doppelganger is one thing,
Right.
Yeah.
but this is something you just don't hear about.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said I started hearing about it through different podcasts where I was going, why are they just talking about somebody that looks like somebody else? And they're like, no, it's literally a copy of you, like
Yeah.
to the T, like clothes you wear, everything.
It's three-dimensional.
Oh, that's so crazy.
One thing, the first time when I first moved into the house, my ex-wife's grandmother lived with us.
Okay.
Helped pay the mortgage.
Sure.
It was great. And she was kind of a mystical person, read cards, gambled,
Her mother.
An old granny, yeah.
That's great.
Not her mother, her grandmother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So the grandmother's, she's in the living room, and I come in the door. I'd been down in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a dig down there.
Okay.
And I came home, and this is almost 25 years ago. And she grabbed my arm when I came through the door, and she says, "Tom, is that you?" And I
Oh,
said,
boy.
I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, 2 hours ago, you were here, and you walked through the house, and your clothes were, you were wearing brown clothes, your hair was disheveled, your face was dirty, and you wouldn't talk to me." And I said, "No, I was down there in Kentucky." And so, I didn't think too much about that. I just thought, well, maybe she's getting weird on me, She's getting up there in the years.
So she's the one that first kind of
She's
noticed
the one
it.
that first noticed it.
But you didn't think anything about it at the time
Not
until
really.
later.
Yeah, I kind of discounted it until it started happening more frequently, and especially with Terri. When I met Terri, she's very spiritual,
Yeah.
and she can see things that I can't see,
Sure.
spirits.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just
Do you remember the first time you saw something like that? Or the first thing that you went, you know what? Something's not right here.
Right.
It's not malevolent, but I don't know what it is.
no, it's well. The thing is, I have not experienced it like Terri has,
Okay.
and
With
my
someone
son-in-law and the grandma.
Okay.
But I always hear it, right? And I'm always maybe it's me. I don't know.
But dude, you have some of the craziest things in your house too, like the door that you and Terri have.
oh, the Dohan
The
door.
Dogan door.
Right.
Wait a minute. What?
Right.
You have a door
If you
from the
haven't
Dogon?
seen that, is incredible. I've only
people
seen it
watching
once.
know the Dogon tribe, or hopefully know the Dogon tribe. If you haven't, look them up.
But it's got little ETs etched into the door.
How did I
like,
miss this?
Stylistically, it's just like
It's in
wow.
it's in our bedroom.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
yeah, it's.
I was in a living room downstairs. That's right. Okay.
But during the
That's-
live stream
how did you-
afterwards,
How did this come about?
Well, that was just ran into somebody that had a theater up north, and we did an event there. And he says, "Hey, I got this Dogan door. Would you be interested in it?" And so I traded a trilobite for it.
That's cool.
But the Dogan tribe has always interested me because of their beliefs and experiences with
Right.
ETs going back thousands of years.
yep. Sirius A and B. They were the only
Exactly.
ones that knew that was a star system until we didn't know that until like the 70s or something.
Right. They drew out the star system long ago before we had good telescopes.
right.
And so how did they know it?
Right.
And
That's always fascinated me.
and we've even had people from the Dogan tribe come out.
You
and
have.
do ceremony.
Yes.
That's
It's
Great.
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a few years back. I remember. And that's the thing with what you guys do is you're always bringing elders from all over the world to Serpent Mound with the peace summits. And the one that's coming up in the spring, we have links in the description to their Facebook group and where you guys can get more information. But
yeah.
you guys have Maori elders coming to this one, and it's always been so cool to see all the people from all over the place that have never had a chance to see Serpent Mound and come to your event, and you guys essentially sponsor them and help them
Right.
come and share their ceremonies at Serpent Mound, which has been amazing, man.
It's
Like you and Terri are doing amazing stuff with that.
we've always tried to. Terry's motto is be all inclusive,
Yeah.
all nations, all races, and so nobody should be left out. We're all leaders in some sense, and everybody has a voice.
Yep.
And that's I wish the whole world was like that.
Right.
But we're not into politics and religion. It's just why we call it the alternate universe.
Yeah.
And leave all that at the door.
Yeah.
Come in and visit.
It's hard for a lot of people to do that.
It is.
They don't know what to do without the structure, the
conflict.
constructs of
Right.
you're this way, I can't.
Oh, just
It's so weird to be like, I can talk to anybody.
Right.
And as long as we don't touch on these, we can talk about all kinds of
it's
stuff.
a safe area.
Yeah.
And that's what the ceremonies and the gatherings are. It's a safe area.
Yeah.
So people come and they feel relaxed, and like-minded people are there. They're not going to judge you,
Right.
and people are free to speak. And
That's a great environment to be in. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
had some amazing interactions over
Really?
the years with
Yeah.
members that have come to it, because that frees people up from being guarded, right? And especially if they've been there and that word starts to get out. Now you don't even have to do the word of it's carried on for you in such a great
Yeah.
way, because it's a known atmosphere that kind of keeps getting passed around, I would assume.
yeah, people are talking. It's nice.
That's great.
It's working.
Great, man. That is so cool what you guys are doing. And again, everybody, go check out those Facebook groups.
Yeah.
We have some links there. There's a flyer that Tom brought in for us. That's got all the information. And but you guys always have a great group of just artists and different people that have been, Lucas and them from 5D Media. People that are I think see how important it is of what you guys have been doing all these years with these events and bringing people together.
Yeah.
It's just been awesome from kind of the outside and stepping in and getting to know the work that you guys have been putting in for, in the area. So, but the impact crater is, we went on the tour with you and not really expecting not knowing really what to expect, kind of Terri had told Tom's been given this tour for 25 years and it's never been filmed. So why don't we?
That's such a fantastic idea to capture it.
Yeah. The winter solstice event, we live stream interviewed with Ross Hamilton, and then we had Michael Toohey. We did an interview with him, and then we went out on location, and Tom hopped in my vehicle and we went all around the impact crater, and he gave us this tour and we shot everything, and just had a blast that day.
Yeah.
I mean, just kicking it with Tom, going to the uplift, going to the cemetery, just kind of like showing exactly on the horizon of each point. And so you were in the rock shop, and some people have stopped by over the years and have you've been one of the go-to folks when it comes to giving people from the outside information about the crater.
Yeah.
And so who was the first person that kind of showed up at your doorstep?
The first fellow to show up was Dr. Hal Pravomir, and he worked with NASA, and he was a physicist, and he designed a rover that's on the Sea of Tranquility.
What?
I do believe they went to the moon. A lot of people are saying they did.
I do too.
He came in as soon as I opened the shop. He's knock. He wants to know where he can get breccia from the crater, and I said, "You mean like the crypto explosion structure?" Because in '96, that's what they called it.
What is a crypto explosion structure?
It's just another term for saying something blew up from underneath. There's no real explanation other than everything is disrupted geologically.
Blown up from underneath?
Yeah, like a big gas pocket. That would be one way to say it.
So the
Or magma, lava,
whatever hit.
Right. Maybe volcanic.
volcanic.
So nothing hit? It exploded
No,
out.
well, that was the original thought from 1832 to 1998.
Was a meteor or something?
No, it was a
Underneath.
cryptovolcanic structure.
Oh.
underneath.
And then in '96, Hal came here from NASA with another fella. He wrote a book, Tektites Are from the Moon.
Okay.
And which is plausible.
Okay.
Because tektites are results of when an asteroid hits a sandstone formation, it vaporizes that silicon dioxide into pure glass and vapor, goes up in the heat column, cools in space, and falls back as a separate meteor shower. It's called a tektite. So tektites could happen from the moon or another planet as well, because we get meteorites from the moon, we get them from Mars. These things are ejected into space, and eventually they make their way to Earth and fall back as a separate meteor shower.
Okay.
But the tektites that he's mostly talks about in the book are from different strewn fields around the Earth. There's like 17 of them.
Okay.
Moldavite is a real popular one because it's a green glass.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people are selling Moldavite at music festivals and stuff. I know that got like super duper
It's really
popular. Moldavite's really weird.
Very
Talk
yes,
a little
it
bit
is.
more about that.
It has an interesting energy. It has iridium, like all tektites do, and it's called a dreaming stone, and it affects everybody differently.
Yeah.
In the last year or two, I've noticed people that buy moldavites will come back wanting another piece because their piece disappeared. Now, did they lose it? Did someone steal it? Did something else take it? You gotta wonder.
I think I need one now.
I've got a couple pieces of Moldavite, but yeah, I found one, and then I ended up getting, I think, a few more. I was on a Moldavite kick for a while, but see, I didn't know that. I don't think we've ever talked about that.
Yeah,
that nugget's new to me.
It has a very strange energy. It's like a dreaming stone, and so try put it in your hand and going to sleep and see what happens.
I
See
will
where
tonight.
Where are you going to go in the universe?
Get a little
right?
Yeah,
medicine
it's like a
pouch to wear.
traveling stone.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
it was kind of told to me. It's a traveling stone.
So, okay, I just want to
astral.
clarify. Serpent Mound was from an impact
Yes.
from above.
Yes.
Okay. It
So-
wasn't an explosion outward.
Right. So Hal
From-
Pravomir comes in '96. I take him out to where the breccia is in the crater because I knew where that was, and he collects some samples, and he never hear from him again. And then 2 years later, I understand that they find a particle that he's looking for that they found on the moon, and it's a little tiny diameter, 104 micron, like a human hair.
Yeah.
Quartz particle inside the breccia that has a shock feature on it, little straight lines, and that can only be caused by high velocity impact. But they had to go to the moon to figure that out because the moon is breccia everywhere. So when they found that particle, it took them 2 years of scanning with the
Wow.
scanning electron microscope. They find a particle and they say, boom, we have a crater. That's the smoking gun. That's the physical feature. Everything else is immaterial because it could have happened in other ways,
Right, right.
like blowing up from underneath.
right.
So when they found that particle, then the game on. You have a crater.
That's so wild.
Yeah, now
But
there's,
this makes me think of you as a kid and figuring it out, and this guy's a NASA scientist.
Right.
Years later,
yeah,
he's got that same childlike. I got to solve this. I got to figure this out, and
a good
straining through
scientist.
sand with an electron microscope is not much fun.
well, and here's the interesting part. We're not sure if he discovered that PDF, that little particle, or the Geological Survey in Columbus, because they had access to all the core drills that were taken back in the 60s.
Okay.
They've been in storage, and apparently these particles aren't that common. And but anyway, 2 years went by, and it was put out to the public that yes, we have a crater. Published a book on it, and the rest is history.
And Tom, now that particle is the image that we have in the video that we did with you, the Impact Crater Tour, which we actually had gone through a process with. Was it the Department of
Yeah, Ohio Department of Natural
of
Resources.
Natural ODNR, and so that's actually in the video. If you guys want to check it out, this micro quartz
yeah, it's really
crystal,
cool.
where it's
I've seen it.
zoomed in on a electron microscope, where you can really see. But that was the smoking gun,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
Some very small microscopic particle solved the mystery.
When that was
Wow.
confirmed, did you see an uptick of study from like-minded
Oh,
individuals?
yeah,
that just
universities.
went nuts.
Yeah, a lot of universities were coming out and doing tours. Ohio University is still working on it. Keith Milan is the guy that's in charge of that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that didn't start whole programs up.
They,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly. What do they call those? Astroblems. people that are into astrophysics, and so they come out, and since then they've said, well, now the crater's 10 miles wide. They can say where it used to be, and just by different geological features. But so much is erased. I look at what's
Yeah.
there now.
Not much.
How does this stack up on impact craters on the Earth in general? Size,
Tiny,
tiny.
very tiny. Yeah.
Okay, and the largest being?
The
do you know?
largest would be
Yucatan?
Sudbury or Chicxulub in Sudbury, Canada.
Okay.
And then you have Chicxulub down in the Gulf of Mexico. But it has to be
These
at
are-
least 100 kilometers across to cause a disturbance with life on Earth.
Okay, and how large are these in Canada? And
Oh, the Chicxulub is over 200 kilometers across. And Sudbury's bigger than that. And then there's one that they don't even know. They know that it had to exist, but they're not sure where it is, because it's when Pangea, when everything was, all the continents
Together.
were together.
Yep.
And now it's all blown
It's
apart.
in
so
the ocean
Yeah, but
somewhere.
that
Parts of
could
it's
be
here,
too.
part of it's there.
yeah,
Yep.
that's wild.
but they know by what happened to all the organisms on Earth dying off instantly that it had to be an impact.
That's so wild.
What kind of effect do you think it had on? Was it regional effect? In terms of, obviously, it caused a massive devastation of the immediate area
The Serpent Mound
in
crater?
Ohio, right? The
Yeah.
Serpent Mound crater.
I-
But was it kind of an ecological, regional disaster, or
I think it was, yeah.
it was in the sea, right? Like there was a sea
Right.
there
Yeah,
when it hit.
there had to have been a nice tidal wave splashing across North America.
Right.
But what it did to the environment, I don't think much, because it wasn't volcanic. There wasn't a lot of bad gases being produced. So, it did cloud the atmosphere with debris. It wasn't big enough, really.
Right.
So all the debris has fallen back into the crater,
Interesting.
and it's
yeah.
what they call breccia. So
Do you get anyone out there ever looking for meteorite fragments? I know that
all
meteorite
the time, all the time.
meteorite chasing is a huge thing, right? Like
And-
they're very valuable, aren't
But
they?
yes,
In the
but
video, you talk about all the different
Yeah.
metals,
right.
Oh yeah.
rare metals
The
that
cobalt, chromium. That's what got people there originally, mining interest.
Cobalt's huge right now. That's all the EV vehicles.
Right.
They
I
need
saw a video
cobalt for
on
the lithium
cobalt
ion.
pits, and
Yeah.
I think it was in Africa. But geez, and
In
15,000
Congo.
people in this spot. Just it's
It's
crazy.
Right. They're not supposed to be there,
Terrible.
right?
It's crazy.
No, it's illegal mining, but
It's crazy.
So there's a huge interest in it as far as mining goes, but they decided there wasn't enough there to bother with, and
right.
it got there through some other means. It wasn't something that came up, an intrusion of a vein of ore through the earth.
Okay.
So when they figured that out, they left, and of course they left everything behind for the Geological Survey, and it came in handy in solving the mystery.
Yeah.
So it took
You
a
had
while.
that material there
Yeah.
then that it wasn't,
Yeah.
looked for another part.
Like
or-
60 years later, hey,
Yeah.
here
so
it is.
really, the ball started rolling in '96. You said.
Yes.
So at what point in the early 2000s then it finally was resolved that it's, hey, this is an impact crater
In
from a meteor.
2003, the survey published a book. It's called Investigations 146, and you can get it through Fountain Square and the Geological Survey, and it tells the whole story. All shows
Wow.
the magnetic anomalies, the fault lines, the outline of the crater. Just good read.
Just what a, like, for that meteor to hit on that fault line in that area, like all of those things kind of come together in this perfect storm, and then you have an ancient culture that comes millions of years later and builds one of the most ridiculous ancient
Mound
temples
effigies.
of all time.
Mm-hmm.
That is a calendar of the solstices and planets, and so the ancient people, do you think that they understood how special that area was? I mean, clearly they had to have sensed or had a way to what got them there. I
Well-
like to think about that.
What got them there was navigation on the river. Okay.
Yep, exactly, the Brush Creek.
Which is basically how they infiltrated North America. But you can go back a long time, 18, 20, 25,000 years ago, because it's on the edge of the Appalachian Escarpment, and it was pretty much protected from glaciation. So it's kind of like a cool zone to go to if you want to hunt, and there's no ice there.
Right.
So man has been here a long time.
Yeah.
and so it's kind of a safe area.
Right.
As far as the Serpent Mound goes, being on that Brush Creek, you could go anywhere in the world from there. And once trade lines were established throughout the world, that was a trade hub. So, and besides that, if you were to sit there like I have in that area long enough, like that's what the ancients did. I'm sure they had lots of time to sit around and look.
Yeah, the
They could see
stars.
that this area is kind of special because the weather's going around it, for one.
Right, it's
That'd
protected.
be a great spot.
And the indigenous people that come and do ceremony, we've brought them up to Serpent Mound, and they'll get to that point where that energy field crosses between the oval and the serpent's mouth. And you can douse that or use a pendulum or a compass, and you can tell there's an energy right there in the ground.
Really.
Starts spinning.
Exactly. And they drop their regalia and bag right there and say, let's do our ceremony. Well, they don't not sitting there for compass. They can feel it.
Yeah.
And that's the
That's
way the old
wild.
ways are. The indigenous people,
I wonder what sense they have that how they can just extract that information or feel that, or is
just a
that
tingling, I think, in their body.
Sensitive.
Yeah.
being in tune a little bit more than the average
And then
human?
you also have people, just a real short story. I had a guy that he was a sports therapist for the Cincinnati Bengals. And he would fly out here from L.A. After every game on what they call the red eye. And he would go to the players and he would do healings on them. But he could see your aura, your energy. And the first time I met him, he walked in the shop and he grabbed my arm and he says, "How long's your arm been bothering you?" I said, "About a year."
What?
I went on a dig, and it really traumatized his bone on his hand from digging.
Tweaked it. Yeah.
And he grabbed it. He says, "How long's that been bothering you?" And I said, "About a year." And he says, "Well," I said, "How'd you do that?" And he says, "Well, I can see your aura. I can see your energy. It's red, And so I sent him up to Serpent Mound. I said, "Go up there and see what you can see." And he'd come back, and he had walked all the way around the serpent, and right at the left-hand side of the mouth of the serpent, he stopped, and he said, "There's a vertical green energy coming out of the ground there." He said it's very powerful.
Left-hand side of the serpent if you're looking the direction of the head or looking
Yes,
at the head?
when you're looking at the head from the rear.
From the lookout.
From the back towards the head,
Yes.
left-hand side.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that's where all the compasses go crazy.
I'm going to have to go out there and
And
meditate.
pendulums and dowsing rods and people.
Yeah.
And so he saw that visually. And
I
thought,
wish I could see that.
I said, "That's so cool."
That's so wild.
So, and that's just validation.
I
if
was
you
just
will.
going to say,
Got
kind
a
of
correlation factor.
Yeah.
Other people doing ceremony there, and it's
Yeah.
so many times it pops up. It's kind of hard to deny.
Yeah. And
Or-
if he hadn't come in the shop and said, "What's wrong with your arm?"
Yeah.
That,
Might have never known.
right. So,
That's mind-blowing. That's
You
wild.
don't ever let something stop you from finding or taking you on a journey somewhere. Like being open-minded can, I think that's
Open to possibilities.
you don't ever let something just not unfold, Tom.
no, that's the key, being open-minded.
Yeah.
And that's what the events and ceremonies that we do is to bring in this old knowledge, this verbal teachings,
Yeah,
something that's not written,
right.
but what tribes have passed forward for thousands of years. And then you hear it and you go like, "Oh, okay."
And just bringing all those different, you probably have seen bringing in the Maori and what are some other folks and indigenous people have you brought in from around the world?
Mostly, well, all of South America,
Yeah.
the Inca, the Aztec, the Maya, they've all been here. And then all of your tribes, Western tribes, Eastern tribes, there's over 500 of them. Canadians, a lot of European people come in, the Celts come in. And then, the Dogons in Africa, but, and some Egyptians will come in. A lot of people from India.
Yeah.
I think you did one on one of your podcasts.
Yep. VJ.
Yeah.
Yep. VJ's changed his whole life, by the way.
Really?
VJ is on a mission. He's in India going from temple to temple, studying with different gurus of all kinds of different yogic practices.
Yeah, fired him up.
He's grown his beard super long. I mean, he looks like probably from the last time that you saw him. I mean, we did a an interview, an episode with him right before he left for India, and immediately he basically just got out into it and disconnected himself from the
distractions
from civilization for a while, and was just going from temple and meeting all these different and studying yoga, because he grew up Christian, so the Hindu aspects of Indian culture, I think that's what he's really exploring, is this more ancient and also going to Serpent Mound and seeing all these different connections between his culture and Tamil, and the languages of Native Americans in America, and just the symbolism of the mounds in Ohio. And I think it just blew him away. And
Nice.
I think Serpent Mound had a lot to do with kind of this awakening that we've seen him go through, and he's on a journey right now.
Wow.
So he would love to catch up with you guys too, I'm sure.
Yeah, another story, and it happens a lot. And people come, they don't even know why they're there.
Yeah.
And it's all about a restart, an awakening. And you said a good awakening.
That's what happened to me.
It's a magnification of the consciousness.
Yep.
We've seen it repeated there in the clouds, which is really funny.
What do you mean repeated in the clouds?
Well, like when Humboldt men came, he was into the crystal skulls. The 2012 book, the beginning of the new Mayan calendar.
Okay.
And he put 9 of the 13 skulls on the very head of the serpent, or not serpent, but what we'd call the turtle. The end of the oval, there's a triangular mound. And he laid out these skulls. They came in from all over the world just for this event.
How long ago was this?
This has been, wow, I'm talking 10, 12 years ago.
That's so cool.
And he laid everything out there, and it's here. We got a clear sky, sunny sky, and we started praying with them. And somebody said, "I noticed everybody's looking up." I'm going, "What's up there?" Somebody said, "Look up. There's a perfect skull in the clouds, in a cloudless sky
What?
above us." Okay, I said, "That's pretty cool," and I know people were taking pictures of it.
Wow.
And following year, we did a circle, and it was for the spring equinox. It was a community circle. We had maybe 200 people, and we formed a circle all the way around near the tail of the serpent in that open area. We're holding hands, and somebody said, "Look up." And we look up. Another cloudless day, and there is a perfect serpent mound forming clouds above us.
That's so cool.
Undulating.
That's so cool.
With the bends.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And that's what we did. Oh, wow. And so I look at it as it's kind of like it magnifies your conscious, your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe that's what attracted people there thousands of years ago.
Could you imagine if you stumbled upon that?
The
Yeah.
area itself being next to the river, it's up on this cliff. I mean, it is the perfect spot.
It
If
has
you,
the energy, right?
and you come up from the road, and you realize that, hey, you're above. You can see everything, the valley below, and being right inside this crater and fault line where you have this energy kind of just swirling around in this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also kind of wild that glacier stopped
Yeah.
just short of there.
Exactly. And
talked to
Like
Jeff
it almost
about
was
that a
like it
little
was
bit.
like not here.
yeah, you look at the topography,
wall.
and how the
wall.
western side is sterilized, it's flattened. The eastern side is still rocky
Yeah,
and
It is
Right.
wild.
Right.
so.
Wow. I never just bringing so many points of information in my head and connecting dots of like it just because having Jeff on and him saying if you imagine coming up and seeing that, like that's as far as you can go. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
it was like fate almost that this spot was going to be kind of singularly shown as, hey, this is where you can inhabit right now. And then
Yep.
obviously if there's energy coming out of it too, just feeling all that. I mean, it just seems like so many things were aligning for that to happen. That's so wild.
It really does. That's why it's just so special. And on a worldwide scale, it just doesn't get the credit that some of the other ancient places like Egypt, or not, I wouldn't say credit. It's kind of nice that not everybody and their mother has heard about Serpent Mound
Right,
just yet.
right.
Now with World Heritage being on the horizon, and if that gets all passed, then it's going to be a lot different. I think it will be on that kind of global, under that global lens a lot more.
A lot more. Yeah. Yeah.
So which are there's good things and bad things with I think with it's just been a place that I've been going to for a lot, and it's just once you go there, it's a never-ending quest to peel back the onion of that place.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I've run into there alone, just all of a sudden, how is this person in my path right now? How am I meeting this person you're having a 4-hour conversation with someone you just met at the head of the serpent in that spot that you're talking about.
Right.
And then it just sends you on this trajectory in your life that you didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just literally from because I thought mounds and these earthworks, I thought they were all burial mounds for the longest time. And they were just these not real ancient, but they were just, kind of, the generation before what we know as, I guess more modern day Native Americans that were in Ohio and across America. But Serpent Mound, I thought, was kind of like this, it was the only one of importance. It was just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb that there weren't just thousands of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people still understand that.
It'd be different if there was a serpent and a bear and, different animal effigies or mound structures.
They have these circles and squares and octagons. And
Right.
Right.
But yet the culture that built it was into high math.
yes.
And to do that, to get the alignments, not just lunar, solar, planetary.
Right.
It's mind-blowing.
Who knows?
Right.
Just-
Well, I kind of made the comment the night sky was the best television show on back then. There
Yeah.
was, there's
only
no light.
show.
Right. There's no light pollution. So
one channel.
Yeah.
you're looking at it and you have to imagine that it was so bright. It literally was like a movie screen. So watching all these celestial movements. Now, the one that tripped us up and we've talked about quite a few times is just the length it takes to plot out the lunar cycle. That's the only one that, you can watch all these other comings and goings of
It's
celestial
so
bodies, but that
wild.
one only, as that wobble happens, you got to really pay attention.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like you're saying, very much into high math, very much into putting the world together as they could understand it, right? And probably, maybe arguably better than we do now.
Right. And then you have the spiritual side and the spirits.
Okay.
Because the people that come there, especially the people from different tribes, the leaders will see spirits and they'll tell you about them. And you
Okay.
go like, well, I don't see them. Terri sees them a lot.
Yeah.
She has enough indigenous in her to, it's in her DNA, I think, to just key into this stuff.
Right.
But when you hear these stories about what they see, and you go, one guy said, "There's millions of spirits there all the time. They're always there," and you go like, "Wow, that's a lot."
At the what?
And just at Serpent Mound,
What?
and you gotta go, well, how long have people been coming there? You know?
Right.
How many people
Yeah.
have died there?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there were burials.
People
all
are
over.
always bringing their ashes there. Terry's son's ashes are there.
Really?
It's just, yeah, and you hear about it from a lot of different people that come to the shop. Well, I just buried my dad up there. I just sprinkled his ashes out because he loved that place.
That's so cool.
And so that's included. And then you go all the way back thousands of years and go like, well, how many people are there?
So it's kind of feeling that energy, and also you're feeding it energy.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Yeah,
on
adding
both
to
ends
it.
of it.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
What you're saying with that spiritual side and having that awareness side and melding those two worlds together
Yeah.
to bring it to its highest level. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
What a place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, you go and you just get sucked into it. At least I did. I mean, just
I went with him my first time. Yeah, he brought me. I was like,
ripped into-
"What the hell is Serpent Mound, and why do I want to go?" And then, okay, I'll go check it out. That sounds kind of cool because again, that's
we went to take photos.
how
and
little
just
understanding we
hung
had,
out and bummed around.
or I had, of Ohio history in general. Never heard of any of this in school. It took me most of my life to ever hear about it.
You
So
got a couple late phone calls from me for
Yeah.
hours.
And that's why I said it's just wild. It's wild that we have so much raw history here that we just never touch on. It's really, it's shocking because it's what are we really learning about? We're learning the history of whoever wants us to tell us their history, battles and wars. But
You go
we should
there,
know
you're
the lay
getting
of
the
the
history
land.
of mankind. Yeah, really.
That's
It really is a living museum,
Yeah, and it's you can open your mind there and just let it go. But it's a wonderful place to have the ceremony and teachings, and to bring elders and other people up there and just listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
And it's just like Mike was saying, it's amazing the people that we meet there.
Oh, sure.
And they come in the shop from someplace else on the earth.
Yeah.
And they read about it in their history book when they were a kid, And
You can have that distance, but that connection really quickly.
Who's the most fascinating person that's ever come into your rock shop? Do you have like a top 5 of is it hard to keep track of all the people that come into the shop?
It's kind of a blur. It's a blur.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
It is.
Yeah. I was
Because
just curious if there was any in particular. I know the NASA scientists had to be like, "Oh my gosh, is this guy really in my shop asking me?" So that probably was
that
one.
kind of started it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of different people from museums, from the Smithsonian, British Museum, American Museum. A lot of different museums have stopped in and said, hey, and strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're doing business with them or donating something to them.
Talk about that a little bit, Tom.
Yeah.
In your trilobite exhibit.
That happened because I was on an international market for selling fossils since the late 70s. I got to meet quite a few museum people that would come to these international shows, exhibits. And over the years, I got to be friends with different managers from these collections. And they approached me in 1985. Actually, it was in the winter of 85 to purchase my collection for an upcoming gallery. And I was watching all my friends sell these expensive trilobites and other things to them for this gallery, and I thought, I don't want to sell my stuff.
Right.
So I pulled the guy off to the side, the collections manager. I said, rather than sell this to you, why don't you borrow some stuff that I have? And it kind of tweaked his interest, and so I invited him to Ohio, and him and his wife showed up, and I laid out the collection on tables so he could view it, and he went all through the collection, went to lunch, come back, and I said, so what specimens are you interested in? I was almost afraid to ask him. Mm-hmm. And he says, I want the whole thing. And I was just a young guy, right? And I said, okay. So he took it away, and actually I had to deliver it to Washington. But
Wow.
and signed some paperwork, and he said, this is going to be in our hands for 25 years. Well, actually it was 26 because they wanted to keep it even longer. And I said, no, I want it back before something changes.
They had it for how long?
26 years.
Did they pay you for this at all?
No, I just loaned it to him.
Okay.
Loaned it to him.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
was the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
And what was it called again?
Yeah, well,
the gallery
The gallery was Life in the Ancient Seas.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gallery that I have at the house in the rock shop is actually a gallery that was a forerunner to the Life in the Ancient Seas. It ran for almost 4 years.
Gotcha.
From 85 until the winter, winter of 85 all the way up to 1990. It was in-house in another gallery, and honoring me.
That's
and
wild.
so when I went to that opening, I was there is in the early January, and all these old people were standing around drinking wine and eating cookies, and they're looking for me, right? And I'm this youngest guy in the crowd, and I got all this stuff. And they were blown
Damn.
away.
Wow.
So I became instant friends with everybody in that
Oh, I bet.
in that department and paleobiology. And to this day, we're still. I mean, a lot of them are gone,
Yeah.
but we're still friends, and it's just amazing the journey. And I didn't plan it. This is the fun part about everything I've ever done. I
Yeah.
don't plan it; it just happens.
Well, and being willing to let it happen.
Well, you have to
Yeah.
take that step.
Yeah,
right?
that's the hardest
And-
part for a lot of people.
And I've never had that problem taking that step.
Right.
So, yeah.
Not having the control, letting
Right.
that control over to the flow.
I take it all the way back to my parents. They never said don't do it.
That's a fair point.
Don't
That's
get in
important.
trouble. Don't go ahead, have fun. Don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
They never questioned me, except one day my dad was tripping over the rocks in the yard. He says, "What are you going to do with all these
Got
rocks?"
too many here.
That was his
Tommy.
question, And I didn't even know at that time I'm going to open a rock shop. I mean, that just happened.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Get over here, Tommy. Clean up your rocks.
Yeah, pile them over there.
When did you find your first trilobite?
That has to go back to, let's see, that's going back a ways. 1950, 58, 59.
And so you're how old at this time?
Well, I was born in 52, so I was, 7 years old.
You found one of these trilobites.
Yeah. I went to a rock quarry, and I was at this rock quarry in Toledo, which was 70 miles from Detroit.
Yeah.
And my mom used to take me down to that quarry and leave me there for a week with my pup tent and my sterno stove and pick me up a week later.
At what age?
Well, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, before I could drive. This went on for a long time.
Wow.
And as long as I didn't get in trouble, and she'd show up. Usually it was over Christmas or a Easter break or summer break while I was not in school.
Yeah.
And we called that an adventure.
That's so cool.
And today they call it child abandonment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because
Back
the laws
then.
are changing,
Yeah.
And what forced me to Ohio, one of the things was OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health
Yeah.
Administration.
Okay.
They came into existence in 78, 79. And I could no longer get in quarries. I could no longer go collect. So
liability.
they shut it down. So many people
I
were
see.
suing the quarries,
I see.
for injuries.
Yeah, sure.
So I came down and ended up exploring a lot of streams, and eventually I got my own property, and now I have my own quarry, one-man operation. They can't touch me.
That's so cool.
I'm not paying. People are not paying to get in, and yeah, it works out great.
When you say you have your own quarry, what do you have?
Where I
literally have your own
mine
quarry?
trilobites.
Yeah.
He's got a piece of land.
Yeah.
that he pulls
Oh,
them
okay.
Yeah, I've got
That's
a couple
really cool.
different places where I dig, and
And
That's
you've
so
got
cool.
other minerals too that you're pulling out of. The one day I visited you before me and my wife were in the area for our anniversary, and you'd given me this. You had just freshly chipped. I'm not even sure what it was, but you gave me this sweet piece, which it's in our backyard.
Yeah.
Underneath our Japanese maple. It's got this crystal band through it.
oh, okay.
And you were just like, "Hey, here you go, happy anniversary! I just
Yeah.
pulled this out of the ground today."
That's probably a quartz from Arkansas.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
We travel around a lot and dig, and
That's
it's
so
fun.
cool.
But most of them are private sites because
Sure.
OSHA has just completely shut down the industry.
Have you ever had somebody that referred you, said, "Hey, I have this property. We found this. What do you think? Do you want to come out and look at it?"
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
yeah. I do assessments of properties. I'll go out as long as they let me collect and keep something. I won't charge them to tell them what they have there.
Oh, cool.
So that happens several times a year. And
So cool.
I've got a whole list of places around the United States that I could go to and collect and give them some information, and they love it.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, it's just sharing information like what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. Man, I feel like we've gotten. I mean, there's stuff that Tom and I have had a lot of great conversations, but a lot of this is, even from when we interviewed him for this Impact Crater DVD,
Right.
it's just like the little minutiae of kind of like, I'm glad we get to do this to dig even deeper into some of the more details of, this, just Tom's overall life. And
Well, I was going to say you're multifaceted,
Yeah,
right? Like
and
it's
you
not
can
just
cover
Serpent Mound, it's not just the impact
Impact
crater, it's not just
Crater.
paranormal, it's not just the rocks. I mean, it's not just the
Yeah.
fossils. It's you have such a wealth of appreciation and experience in so many different areas that you have we'll call it your main focus with the fossils, but that focus is expanded out. It seems like being in that area
crater,
to really
to-
opening you
Yeah.
to so much. Like
Yeah, it's amazing. You couldn't possibly imagine it. It's happening,
right,
and it hasn't stopped. It's just like coming out here to do your podcast.
right.
It's just reaching more and more people.
Right. And what about Terri as well? What is her kind of trajectory and how she ended up in the area? Because you said she was a customer.
Terri-
Is she from the area in general?
Terri's from Idaho
She's from Idaho. Okay.
and worked at Yellowstone. Met her
Oh, so cool.
ex-husband in Yellowstone.
Okay.
And ended up in Ohio
Okay.
and in Wilmington. And she would come down to the rock shop when I first opened in '96.
Right.
And she would come out and buy crystals and things. And I heard bits and pieces about what she was doing, but I wasn't that inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard she was doing these pipe ceremonies. I go like, what's a pipe ceremony? And then I
Right.
started digging, And then finally she invited me to a conference at Woodland Altars. It was a Star Knowledge conference. And I got to meet several different tribal members and hit it off with them right away because they knew that I was working with the earth.
Yeah.
And, I never thought myself as being spiritual, but she did. And she picked up on that right away.
I think that's a good thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
you just kind of have that innate quality that is.
I'm grounded.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as a customer, she was just always in the background. And I went through a divorce. She went through a divorce, and we got together and hit it off. And wow, the rest is history.
Yeah, as they say.
But
Man, that's an amazing story. I love that story. That's like one of the best how we got together stories ever. That's great. Well, we have actually a clip from the piece that we did with
Yeah.
Tom, the Impact Crater DVD, and it kind of goes into some of the stuff that we were touching on a little bit earlier. I kind of wanted to put the brakes on, but Kyle, whenever if you want to get
now, if we
prepped
swing
to-
around to the
There we
south, well, we call that the ghost rim of the crater. So even though today we have a crater that's 5 miles wide, it was much larger at one time. So there's a fault line that runs down Route 41 from the center of the crater, and right there where the ghost rim is in the curve just in front of the Wickerham Tavern. And when it rains and it pours, it always pours on the south side of that line where the ghost rim is, and on this side it's dry. It's all weather related. So there's still an energy that's going around. We drove out towards Serpent Mound and went through the southern rim of the crater, and we ended up in Loudon, which is on the western rim. And from Loudon, we had a good vantage point of looking at the uplift. And from there, you're 2.5 miles away instead of 3.5 miles away at the cemetery. We're basically on the very edge of the western rim here, and we're looking out to the east. And 2.5 miles exactly is Parker Ridge. So that's your point of impact. Magnetic anomalies follow the rim, so they affect weather. That's the first thing that I noticed about this actually being a crater, was how it affected weather, because anytime you get a fault system or magnetic anomalies, they will neutralize cloud bases, cumulonimbus, highly charged clouds. So the negative energy neutralizes the positive energy in the cloud base. And so storms are weakened as they come through. And most of the time it bounces off the rim and goes to the south or goes to the north, but it just opens up and goes around.
Okay, now that's interesting. So what you're saying is, the way I took it earlier was just the crater itself was kind of like a barricade pushing the storms around. What you're saying here is the impact and the negative charge that's in the ground from that impact
Yes.
takes the positive charge and neutralizes the cloud.
Yes, it's like a band that goes around the perimeter of the crater.
Wow.
So you have, geologically, you have these layers in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Each one is charged with the magnetic signature.
Okay.
So when you take and disrupt those down thousands of feet, you have an anomaly.
Oh,
And
okay.
that it's kind of like accumulated all the way around the rim. So when weather patterns come through, a perfect example would be in 2003. We had a huge lightning storm come through about midnight.
Okay.
August, I believe it was August 18th, something like that, 24th. But we were all up on a ridge 8 miles away in Unity, a little Amish settlement, doing a drumming. And here come this cloud storm, and it was lightning. It was so fierce that everybody left, and it was on a ridge because we didn't want to get hit by lightning.
Right, right.
And the next morning, there was a crop circle across from Serpent Mound.
And that's that kind of famous one. That
It's-
when you Google Ohio crop circle, the one that always pops up is the one on right across the road from Serpent Mound.
Right. And if you line up the energy that goes through the mouth of the serpent, a half a mile down that ridge, down the hillside, and in that field is where that crop circle was, right directly aligned with the head of the serpent.
And that's when Jeff came down
That's-
to investigate
That's
that
when
crop circle.
That's when he came into the picture and met his wife.
Yeah, that story's also, I mean, floored me. I was just like, it's just like this thing pulled you here.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It does. It just
Yeah.
seems like a pulling
Yeah.
the stopper out of the sink train, and it's very cool to think that is possible, and that these places
Yeah.
do somehow speak or reach out to.
It draws them in.
Right.
Right. Or
And-
draws in humanity or
Yeah.
whatever's out there.
Yeah.
Did
and
you walk in the crop circle?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
What
How
was
was
that
that?
like?
I had to go past the gauntlet of sheriffs to do it.
Yep.
Because the first thing they said, no trespassing. The second thing was, have you seen any aliens yet?
Really?
But don't go there. But I went there. And it was a really strange feel of energy in the midsection being drawn down. It wasn't like anything you get on the earth. It was a different type of energy.
Had you seen a crop circle before?
Never saw one.
What was your
No.
feeling afterwards and after your experience? And obviously seeing the storm,
Right.
watching it roll in and everybody leaving, and then seeing this the next day and kind of putting the pieces together and experiencing it. What was your overall takeaway?
Well, it immediately I thought, it had to be weather related because of that storm. But I didn't put it together until about a month later
Okay.
when everybody at the drumming was taking pictures. They all had different types of cameras.
Okay.
People sent their pictures off. They came back, and guess what's in the pictures? Orbs. Thousands of orbs. Some of them had geometrical patterns.
Do you still have pictures of these?
They're in an album on the ridge where we did this, Unity Ridge, and the guy that owns them, he has an album of all the pictures the night the crop circle was made.
Love
But
to see
there's,
these.
there's orbs coming out of people's ears and eyes, nose, mouth.
What?
They're all different sizes, and since then there has not been anything like it. Because people take pictures at these drummings all the time, and you don't see that. But to see that energy was in the air before that storm even came through.
You said 2004?
2000 and I think it was 2004,
Wow.
2003, 2004.
So
Okay,
were you there when the drumming? Were you
He was
a
up
part
on
of
the
the
ridge.
group? You
Yes.
were with them
Yeah.
with the group that was drumming,
Right.
And so this guy's taking these photos, and until later he gets
Everybody
them
was
developed.
taking
Everybody
photos.
there.
Okay.
And everybody, when they started getting their pictures back, because at that time you have to
Right.
send your pictures
Yep.
off to get them developed.
Right.
And then everybody's getting their pictures back, going like, "What's all these orbs in here? What is this?" And then he ends up making an album and collecting all that.
They were getting upset at the photo processing center going, man, you screwed up all my pictures.
Right.
What the hell?
And then,
Or he swapped them out.
then to top it all off, the lady that owns the spring
Yeah.
right across from the crop circle,
Yep.
her mother passed in that house the night the crop circle was made.
Whoa.
And she would not grow another crop in that field, and to this day, there's still not a crop
I was
in that
gonna
field.
say I don't think I've ever seen anything grow in that field.
Really?
Yeah, she wouldn't plant.
Was she just freaked out that it was going to come back?
I don't know.
Kind of,
I don't
or
know.
okay.
But it's just interesting that there's a lot of things that
That
happen.
spring is right there,
It's-
and that
it's
spring has
perfect.
been this magical source of life.
Yeah.
For thousands of years.
Right.
There's kind of a structure built around the spring
Yeah,
now.
there's a
with
cement.
a tube and everything, but back in the day, that was the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh
So
water.
no other
source.
crop circles have these orbs, a storm rolling in. Sounds like some UFO activity. Energy, possibly. Have you ever seen any other
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
lights in the sky,
Yeah.
shapes? Really?
Yeah. The night the crop circle was made, people, now I wasn't there when that happened. I was someplace else, but people claimed to have seen blue orbs dancing around the field. And that's right on State Route 73, so people drive by there all the time.
Right,
busy
right,
highway.
Day
right.
and night, doesn't matter.
Right.
At that time, I was kind of skeptical, but back right after I met Terri, we met a fellow that had worked on the Chandra telescope, and he was a physicist, and he lives in West Virginia, and he comes out to the events, him and his wife, she's native, and he said, I want to go out there to Serpent Mound. Reynolds, this is a long story, but
That's fine.
there's a kahuna in Hawaii. His name is Reynolds, and he came to the event and did some ceremony there. And just before he came to our event is when we had that derecho come through and melt our power line. And then we realized that the fault in the ground created the melting of the power line. But just before he came, that happened. So we had to do all our ceremony with candles at night. When we had
what melted your power lines?
a fault in the ground, a ground fault, the one that goes past us from the crater.
How did that melt the power lines?
The derecho, 90-mile-an-hour winds picked the energy up off the surface of the road and built it up on the power line, and we watched it melt in front of our very eyes. And then the power went out. But AEP came out, they did a survey about a week later, and they said, oh, you got a fault here. That's your problem.
So AEP wasn't like, oh,
No,
like matter of fact,
They
this
confirmed
fault.
it 100%.
they confirmed it, right.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. I just didn't understand. I was like, I've never seen power lines melt, and I don't know how that happens. So
So I had a clip of this from our interview. This was way better, like in this setting of telling that exact same story. So
Yeah.
we're gonna leave that second. This is much better.
So this is a couple years later.
Yeah.
Reynolds calls up, and now Reynolds can see ships. This is the funny part about it. Day or night, he can see ships.
Ships.
Chief Golden Light Eagle was the same way. He could call in ships and he could see ships when you can't see them. I'm talking about UAVs.
Yeah.
And so Reynolds calls up out of the blue, and he says, I want you to go to Serpent Mound tonight by the spring, okay, and sit there. I'm calling in ships. He's calling them in. All right, so I take this guy from West Virginia that worked on Chandra, Steve is his name, and Terry's daughter, and we went out there and we sat by the spring, and it started drizzling, low cloud cover, and Aurelia, Terry's daughter, I said, go over there and sit on the edge of the spring. I want to take your picture. And it's totally dark in back there, no lights, nothing. And I flashed the camera, Ching got her picture, nothing, you know, I don't know why I did it. I just did.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there about another hour, and it started drizzling more and more. And then all of a sudden, 7 lights come in under the clouds and circle us. These aren't big lights. They're like little orbs.
Okay.
But we could all, there's 4 of us sitting there.
When
We
you
could
say
watch.
little, how big? If you, I don't know how close it was to you, but
You know, probably like the size of your light, and maybe a couple feet across.
okay.
China
you-
Bubble
okay.
But you could see
Big
them.
China globe.
They were bright.
Okay.
And they came in and they circled us, the spring, and they left. Just like that, one circle, and they're gone. And Steve said, well, I guess the show's over. Reynolds called it right. He called in some ships. Well, Reynolds had blessed that spring when he was there a couple years before. And actually with his wife, and his wife ended up passing before all this happened. But we go back to the house, and I throw my drive on the computer on a big screen. And lo and behold, behind Aurelia, against the dark backdrop, is a perfect triangle of 7 lights. They were there the whole time.
They didn't show up until they showed you the circle,
Right.
Wow.
but they were there, kind of
They were there.
observing and whatever they were doing. But
Yeah.
they were there before you knew it, and then they made themselves known.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So you got the kind of the photographic evidence of before the actual I guess you could say, your physical experience.
Yeah.
And with the photographic evidence kind of coming in, confirming that this is.
And I've
There's
heard this
different
before.
spectrums of
It's-
light that we
it's-
can't see. We know that
Right.
with our own naked eyes. And, photography equipment, whether it's, paranormal, whether it's spirits, UFO, it's just what it's able to perceive is beyond our human eyes at that time. So that's really wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times has the kahuna been to the area? Does he live in Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple different times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other instance we had at the spring, talking about weird things. We were at the spring one day when Humboldt's came, and he did a skull conference at Serpent Mound. And there's probably 1,000 people there. And everybody was up in the tower and down. And we're at the spring, right? Nice sunny day. Big old rainbow shoots across the sky, right there over top of where he is at Serpent Mound. And it's like a clear day.
Yeah.
No clouds. And you got a rainbow? And he was up there doing his ceremony. So it's just...
How do you explain it?
You can't explain it.
Right.
But you get to witness these things, and it's phenomenal.
That's so crazy. I had never really dug into whether there was any aerial phenomena or, orbs or I mean, obviously knowing from Jeff saying the crop circle last time he was on, I knew that, okay, there's a little bit more to pull on there. There's got to be a little bit. And you having these stories, obviously, you've got a wealth of stories, but, again, it seems like
It adds up.
you might
It
not
does.
be inclined to see it at the time in the spectrum, but
Yeah.
you're in that mix somewhere, right? Like you're doing something that apparently is, whether it's your innate sense, your being, your energy, whatever it is. I think it's really cool that he's like, hey, I'm going to call these guys in tonight. You want to go check them out? And
the last reports of UAVs at our last conference, was it the winter? Yes, it was the winter solstice.
Okay.
We were all outside at wooden altars around the fire, and I wasn't there, darn it.
2021 or
No,
just this past one?
Just past one.
Oh, okay.
And they were out there. They had just done a despacho, and I think there was probably 8 or 9 people standing around the fire, and a line of UAVs went over the tree line from the main lodge all the way across the lake and out. But it was a line of several UFOs, and they were just in a perfect line, and they went treetop level all the way across. And
wow.
The next morning, this little kid, I'm 6 years old, comes in the shop, and he says, I saw some UFOs, and it was cool.
No way.
Yeah, and then I heard it from these other people that came in, and they go, yeah, there's a lot of people saw that. I said, did you get a picture? No.
Was it reported?
No.
Did nobody reported it?
I told them to go on
report or
MUFON
something.
and
Yeah.
at least make a report.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that you just go, all right, that's cool. They're watching us, or someone's paying attention out there.
It makes me want to move down there so I can see. I would love to see anything like that, or be able to. And maybe that's why. Maybe because I want to, I don't get I don't know. I kind of always wonder how it works. But to just be around that energy or have that experience is something that, again, maybe they're there all the time and we just can't see them.
Exactly.
Right.
Or like John Keel, the super spectrum, where certain things can come into when that time, that
kinda like
space,
a window,
where this window kind of opens up, and with what we've been talking about, the fault line,
Energy,
the crater,
Right.
the Serpent Mound
Vortexes.
itself, the haunted house that you live in, and all of these things kind of come together to create that window where maybe there are things from maybe they're extra dimensional,
Right.
Not maybe so much physical,
Right.
But something that's kind of seeping through these like, I guess John Keel would
I was
call.
wondering, how close is Serpent Mound to Point Pleasant?
Not
very
far,
close?
really. I mean, you
Is it
guys are
close?
from Portsmouth and
Oh.
from Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Oh, Mothman, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a couple hours away.
A couple hours away.
Yeah.
It's more east. Point Pleasant is
Yeah.
more
Okay,
towards West
okay.
Virginia.
Southeast.
What I was going to wonder too, you said the house is haunted. Did anybody ever have a historical reason why? Was there
Well,
Investigated.
Terri
Yeah.
thinks it's the ground energy.
and that's what I was going to say, because kind of what it seems like it's all brought back to is
Yeah. I mean, the store across the street, Dollar General's haunted.
Oh, that's a great story.
And that
Can we hear that
happens
one?
all the time in there.
Can we hear?
And the help doesn't stay long either, believe me.
no, they go
So
through
they
workers.
go over to the rock shop. At least it's not
Tom will
haunted over there
tell
in the
him.
shop. Let's hear. Can we hear a story about Dollar General?
Sorry.
Well, you
Yeah.
can leave the names out, of course, of the workers and so forth. But
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, that's not a
There
problem.
used to be a house across the street from us that got torn down. It was severely haunted. Okay.
Jeez.
And paranormal investigators walked away from that. They didn't want nothing to do with it.
No, I don't understand. That's what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
So
but it
didn't
was
they-
too crazy for them, too violent.
Well, I guess they're done with their job. Go find a new career.
Well, now they can go to the store. But
Jeez,
as soon as that store opened, this is like
that's funny.
within a day or two. One of the people that worked there was a manager. She went to the rock shop frequently, good customer. She sends us a video. She goes, "You got to check this out. 11:30 in the afternoon, in the aisle where all the detergents are, on the top shelf, you got these great big detergents, and one of them all by itself goes, pff, hits the floor and goes pff, all over the floor.
Dang.
Nobody around, just the camera, right? So we posted it. It's on our site somewhere.
I'll be checking that out.
Yeah.
Probably
But
after this.
It's been one thing after another. They talk, they move things around. The next instance was on a Christmas. The manager opens up the store, walks in, and there's a box of cookies opened up, and a few of the cookies are gone, and there's a line of change around it. And it's like, where'd the money come from?
Right.
And I just swept it up. I didn't pay attention to it. I wish you'd looked at the dates or something.
Right.
Right. Something would have
And
been there. Clue.
and so that was just one instance. And then at Christmas last year, they had taken all the sale tags off of the items and made a trail all the way around the store with them.
What?
This is while the store is closed, okay? And at night, sometimes the alarm will go off and the lights will go on and off. So something is in there fooling around, setting off their sensors, right?
And you can see this.
Yeah, I'm right across the street.
So Tom's like, "Nah, I'm not going over there.
Yeah. And
I'm good. I got my own problems."
Back in the summer, the helium tank they filled balloons with,
Yeah.
the whole top fell off of it, and until it was empty.
What?
And it's like, who did that, right?
That's wild.
But when you're in that store, sometimes the lights will be flickering on and off. But I solved the mystery of where did the money come from? Where did the change come from?
Oh, you did?
So the manager's telling me, she says, I was sitting in the office one day, and the safe opened up all by itself.
Oh, my God.
And I said, well, there you go.
The ghost of a bank robber. Jeez,
Wow.
I-
And didn't you have workers that would walk across the street and ask you questions
Oh, yeah.
that didn't really know what was going on? It's like, hey, have you heard anything about the Dollar
Second-
General being
Yeah.
haunted?
second
Yeah.
week on the job,
And
they're
I'm
coming over
always,
distraught.
and well, they talk to them. They know all the workers by name.
Yeah.
And so they're very physical. And
The ghosts know the workers by name.
exactly.
Okay.
And I
All right. Yeah.
I was back last summer. I was walking down an
Jesus.
aisle, and there's this big terracotta pot, just came off the shelf and smashed in front of me. And I'm going, I didn't do it. It's all
Get 'em
over
outta
the
here.
store.
so
there's
wild.
always stuff falling in that store. I mean, it's weird.
It's poltergeist activity.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's like some kind of energy, like this negative. Something happened in that house. Do you
Yeah.
feel like so your house isn't dark energy
Right.
like across the street? That house was, like you said, those paranormal investigators were like, we're good.
Yeah, somebody died in that house, a little kid, and then there's a little kid that died in the barn next to me too,
Okay.
and a boy and a girl, and they've both been seen playing in my yard by different people that have come in.
What?
So, yeah. So, and it's always like a foggy time, misty, and it's something that it just maybe makes them outlined. People have taken pictures of my house and seen people standing in the windows when nobody's there. Just things like that. So the spirits are always there. The
said-
cameras catch them, but it's an ongoing thing. It doesn't bother me. I think it's funny.
You said the fault
So
line
wild.
runs where?
Right down Route 41.
So that store is across the fault line.
This-
You're on the other side.
Right. And our
Think
house.
that has anything to do with?
Well, our house is perfect west facing.
Okay.
All right, and that's the way the Masons who settled that area, they were into trapping energy. Everything they built was north, south, east, west. So their west door would catch energy, and when you walk in their house, it's not connected to any other door. It's like a dead end. So all those rooms trap energy, and our kitchen is the worst place. There's always something going on in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So you go in that kitchen and start cooking something, and instead of walking back and forth, you're going around in a circle. What the heck am I doing? You know? It's weird.
Just discombobulates you and
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
not really sure what you're doing in your own kitchen all of
Yeah.
a sudden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
See, when we've been there, it's been kind of hustle and bustle. We've been doing a production, helping out with the virtual event.
Right.
But I've never actually been in the house when there hasn't been something going on,
right.
where it's kind of calm and normal. But I'm sure after we left that time with our big production and the van and all the cameras
We
and
had
people,
that storm rolling
did
in.
anything happen? Oh, that storm on the
Can't-
summer solstice was
We had
incredible.
water coming down everywhere. It was.
I don't know
batting the
what
hatches.
happened after you left. Like I say, a lot of this is just a blur.
Yeah,
But certain events really
Kick it
catch
off.
my attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I thought I knew we were going to get into some of this stuff. I was hoping we would at least. I mean, we titled this Serpent Mound Impact Crater, of course, but
Yeah.
we may have to kind of take a look at what this episode is. We've covered so much ground. I mean, but that again, I feel like we got a holistic look of, yeah, you have the history and the data and the kind of what Serpent Mound is as a historical site, but then you have all these other things that are happening around
That's what
it
I'm saying.
for years and years, and the geology and the history and the paranormal activity and the UAP phenomenon, the crop circles. I mean, does it ever end?
I think
is
it
it the
starts-
strangest place in Ohio?
What's
Other
getting
than
there?
Athens, maybe. But Athens is the most haunted place I know in
I-
Ohio, if not the United States. But
I'm putting Serpent Mound crypto explosion area number 1. and the reason I
gotta
say
be close.
the reason I say that is because if you didn't know about it, you didn't know about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there hasn't been nearly the traffic and amount of eyes to be able to capture all these things
Right.
and correlate.
that's
you
a
know,
good
is-
point.
So you know,
It is very much in the boonies.
right,
You know.
Yeah.
right.
And nobody talks about it, and that's what. Since we've been there, yeah, we talk about it because it's neat, you know.
Yeah.
Does that help other people kind of open up?
Yeah. The people that, especially professional people that come in the shop,
Sure.
and they start talking about stories that they have, and they said, "Well, I would never talk about this to anybody."
Right.
And a lot of it's the UFO stuff,
Yeah.
but and the paranormal. I've had. Here's the thing: in the shop, I've had books disappear and come back 3 days later in the exact spot they disappeared from. And it's like it happens in the house all the time, especially something that I need. So I had a
Someone I put this here, and
Yes.
it is no longer here. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, it appears where? Somewhere else, or in the exact same
exact
spot?
same spot.
You left it.
And my daughter's cell phone went from downstairs to upstairs in Terry's purse. That happened recently. She was hunting it down, and Terry said, "I have no idea." Well, I called it,
Somebody
or
set
someone
her
else
up.
called it, and yeah, exactly. I had a thumb drive do that. I was supposed to do a lecture, looking for the thumb drive. It's just in a drawer. Pulled the drawer up. It's not there. Went all through the house looking everywhere. We looked in that drawer 3 times, right? The 4th time I looked in it, it was there.
That's so strange.
So it's like a ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You know?
I've heard
Yeah.
of things
There you
like that
go.
happening
It
before too.
seems like almost mischievous in a playful way.
It is.
And
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
something that's like demonic or
All right.
Yeah.
negative, you know?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. So you have people that see the kids in your yard, right?
Right.
Sounds kind of playful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they were over at that house as kids and
The freakiest one is the water turning on in front of you when you're at the sink. That's got to be the most unnerving.
not a leaky faucet. You mean
No.
Just psh,
Blasting
you see the
out.
handle turn?
wow.
No, just yeah. Well, I don't know. I never looked at it like that. I just thought, well, the water's on.
I guess
I
yeah, it's
didn't
hard
do
to
that.
it's hard to assess it in the moment.
Yeah, of course.
But things like that, catches your attention, and I go, okay,
And I'm sure people have said over the years, "Well, how do you still live there?" And you're like, "Nothing's ever tried to hurt me." So
cool, man. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting a front row seat to things that other people can only dream of, and
And
see.
you, and you probably get used to it. Have you gotten used to it?
No.
Or you've just accepted
really.
it? You
I
just
accept it.
accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really get used to the
long as
water just turning on.
As
you
long as they're
gotten
not
used to it?
attacking me, I'm okay, right?
That's so funny.
They haven't pushed me down the stairs yet.
Have you gotten used to it? He was like, no, I'm
I
not
mean,
used to
I
it.
would.
That's so funny.
Now, if I ever had to sell that house, it might be a problem.
Right.
But
Yeah, do you have to disclose all of that to the potential buyer?
yeah, now see, they didn't disclose it to me. I just had the guy,
Sure.
previous owner, show up and say, well, and the long story on that was he came back years later and said, we abandoned that house because of what was going on. And he says, where's your bedroom? And I pointed to that room. He says, that's the worst room in the house. I go, yeah, there's a lot goes on in that bedroom.
What was his?
where the
Did he
Dogan
say
door
why
is.
they left? What was so
He-
bad why they left? Was
Well,
it
he's
just
Baptist, very religious.
Okay.
He's an undertaker.
okay?
Okay. And the whole family abandoned the house 25 years before I got it and left the furniture and everything in it. Just walked away from it.
That's like movie story weird.
But
Did you say
that's-
the price changed?
Well,
the
the-
price got
The
dropped
day
on
he
you.
bought it.
The price dropped the very day I bought it.
In your benefit?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
it did
so-
drop the day you bought it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you had paid twice. When
No,
it dropped.
I-
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
I had done the research as far as getting a loan and all that, and the local bank, for whatever reason, the real estate it was on the market for several months. They decided, well, we'll just cut the price in half. And so I got it for half price.
That's great.
Dude,
But I had to have a co-signer because they weren't going to, even though I was in business for a long time, you know how business is.
you need credit and all that. and,
Right.
like,
Yeah, the bank says, nah.
Yep.
But so I got a co-signer, no problem.
That's
But
good.
yeah.
That's wild.
Man, now this is something that we can open up a conversation with. How cool would it be if we came down? I mean, is it disrespecting the area if we would come down and try to call in something or and try to get something on camera? Is that disrespectful? Because I'm like, there's all this activity.
I'm already plotting my camp
There's
out
some
spot.
kind of camp out or
I would like to camp out.
I don't
and-
know. It's something to run across you guys, but
Yeah, you'd have to kick that around, Terry. because
Yeah.
it is to her that would be kind of disrespectful.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm feeling right now.
don't
I
wanna-
wouldn't want
like,
to. I wouldn't
if
want
we're
to film it as
there,
much as I just want to.
Want to experience.
I want to experience it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Without
And not in a like eat popcorn experience, while I'm on my. I mean, like,
Right.
be out there, and that's why I'm out there, and that's you
yeah.
know,
Because
to be present for that.
Dr. Stephen Greer, they go out and do their research. A lot of it's meditation based.
They do a
Where
lot
they're
with
bringing-
lasers.
There's
Try to draw on
like
UFOs.
the drumming, and I know there's chanting and
Yeah.
different like meditations that which you guys have been doing that stuff with
Yeah.
Bill and the Crystal Skull meditations,
Right,
and
right.
And I feel like
like
you
a
know,
protocol.
I've been chatting with Bill a little bit and trying to get him on the show to kind of see what he's been up to, and talk about the Montana megaliths that he's been to and some of those kind of little adventures. But some photos that I've seen from Bill is those the Mitchell Hedges crystal skulls. If you guys don't know what we're talking about,
It is the crystal skull,
It is. Yep.
and
unequivocally.
so we met Bill actually at Tom and Terry's event.
Yeah.
He was one of the speakers and brought the skull out, and it's still on the Serpent Mound Star Knowledge YouTube channel.
And it's coming back in the spring.
And it's
Right.
there we go, full circle.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Bill
wow.
is going to be at Serpent Mound Star Knowledge, the Spring Equinox Peace Summit. And that's when Bill said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Ohio. Maybe we'll do the podcast then." So we're either thinking about jumping on with him either before or after your event. It's still kind of being worked out, but we're hoping to have Bill Homan, the keeper of the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull,
Yeah.
in studio. And he's a fascinating guy.
Oh yeah.
And it's really cool how you guys have been collecting crystal skulls and have actually gifted us a few ourselves. Old Smokies in the other office.
Yeah. The
but,
crystal skulls in the office.
These are, we've kind of been brought into the crystal skull world after that event and are now keepers of our own skulls. Thanks to you guys. Did a little ceremony with everyone up on the stage and in front of the cameras, and Terri gifted us with you guys, and that was just a really cool day. To come home with our own after that was
Wild.
and that was really kicked off what we're doing
Nice.
now. And
Nice.
so
Oh yeah.
you guys were a big part of really kind of helping us up with that. And Kyle's bringing it in right now. This is
And it
Old
just happened.
Smoky. And this is on
That is a nice-
light
That's
pedestal.
awesome.
Smoky quartz.
Man,
Yep.
that's hefty.
And it's got just a significance to us. This really represents the early days of the Strange Road when, during the pandemic, we were started this podcast as a project. And
Right.
the first event we really did was the summer solstice with you guys, which was, hey, I contacted your wife. It was like, hey, we're these weirdos from Columbus.
I remember that
Can we help
process.
you bring your event virtually?
Come on out.
I had been in contact with her to just come out and shoot some stuff. David Lone Bear was someone I was trying to get out to your event. And so he was supposed to speak at that, and then everything got shut down. And so I kind of reached out to her and said, hey, we have this technical ability to bring your event virtually for, it's a real bummer that, but we can have something on a small scale. And,
Right.
and you guys built an awesome stage out there. And that's where we met VJ, and we met, really got to know you guys really well. And we met, I want to say, we met Rashad and Abe Mellish and some of those guys during your events.
He'll be back. Yeah, he's doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Super, super talented. But Rashad Green, right? Am I getting that right?
I'm not
The
sure.
drummer. I'll have to double check on that. But
It's a blur.
yeah, again, you guys,
Ask Terri.
you guys have so many people. But that's our crystal skull, everybody. We
Yeah.
love it. It's very, very high regarded. E.T., the crystal skull, that's kind of like the essence of Strange Road, pretty much.
I'd say it
And
fits.
that can visit with the Mitchell Hesses when it comes. And
Yes.
they can exchange information,
Yes.
which is kind of cool.
We
Yes.
definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely need to do that.
And we did have this next to, for that whole day, we put this up on there was a little table with
Oh,
the
yeah,
Mitchell
yeah.
Hedges crystal skull.
That's right.
The static
And
image
then-
So
we
it's
had.
been there. Okay.
Yeah.
Terri,
Yeah.
Terri had some of your guys' skulls, and then that one was out there all day too.
Yep.
It's your guide.
Yeah.
That's Old Smoky. And you kind of gave it that name in a roundabout way, of reasons I'm not going to get into.
Don't be
but-
surprised if you show up at home and it's sitting in your rock shop somehow, and we're like, where the hell
Oh,
did
yeah.
that thing go?
Hey, you're missing
Mikey,
a skull.
Mikey
is
lost
that?
the crystal skull, and then all of a sudden it's,
Yeah.
hey, why do I have your skull in my rock
Yeah.
shop?
That'd be
The
something.
Vortex.
That's so cool.
Cool.
Oh my God, guys, this
Great
has been
episode.
awesome. Like,
Jeez,
thoroughly enjoyed this. And again,
I still have more questions.
yeah. Well,
I'm happy to wrap it up. Because,
we can keep going.
no, I would like to wrap it up because otherwise he's never getting home.
Yeah.
I think the only solution
We're gonna
here is we might
kidnap
have
Tom.
more conversations down the
Yeah.
road.
But
I have too many questions.
just to kind of touch on the Serpent Mound Impact Crater Tour
Yeah.
with Thomas Johnson. The video is available now on YouTube, and then the DVD collector's item is going to be available at the House of Fake Ops Rock Shop, Tom and Terry's alternate universe. And you guys have definitely an alternate universe happening over
Absolutely.
there. But we have some images here of the DVD package that we put together, and
pretty
I think
slick.
it turned out really, really cool. And we show kind of the what you're seeing here is just really just like a Google Earth of the whole area, which I thought was kind of neat to. You can really
That's
see
neat.
that top-down view of where the crater is. So we thought, man, that's so cool. Let's just make it part of the DVD cover.
Right.
But Kyle did a heck of a job with the design. We worked together on kind of the
Great.
little bits of it, but
Nice job. Beautiful.
really excited to be able to honor you and Terri with this to have for sale, and continuing to do your tours in person, but also having the ability to send someone home with the DVD as well, and they can
Yeah.
Right.
have it as kind of a collector's item. But
I
you
found a
guys-
similarity with how you said, he's done this tour for 25 years and he's
Yeah.
never filmed it, never
Never
recorded,
had it
never written it
captured.
down. It's
No.
like I can identify my family playing music our entire lives, and people are like,
Right.
oh, where's all the video?
There's
Who
no
records
video.
this?
Yeah,
Right.
We just
I
do
would
it,
have, but I
right?
was a
Like,
kid.
Yeah.
You just do it. So I can understand that after a while, you're like, I've never thought about recording. I just know all this.
We did
but
once. We
to
live
us-
streamed your families
Yeah.
during COVID too. One of the
Yeah.
first things we did was his brother and their band did a
Did a
live
porch
stream
concert.
on their porch
And
when
send
there
it out to the
couldn't
community.
be any gatherings or groups.
Yep.
Right.
And then right around that time is when we helped you guys with
Yeah.
yours. So those two things, boom, right
That was
here.
like a beta forerunner.
Yeah, keep it going.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you're down in the area around Serpent Mound, check out Serpent Mound. Check out the House of Fake Hops Rock Shop. Stop in, talk to Tom. If he doesn't talk to you, it's probably a doppelganger, right?
They don't talk.
If
He
he
doesn't
ignores
say
you,
anything.
it's a doppelganger. If he's telling you stories
Yeah.
and telling you to go to the water serpent, especially because
Yep.
I know Tom sends a lot of people to the water serpent
Yep.
and has kind of been the word of
It's
mouth.
not a wild goose chase.
that place.
It's well
It's
worth going
worth
down
it.
there and checking it out.
Absolutely. And then Tom, I don't know if you wanted to just let everybody know where we can find you, a little bit about your event, whatever you want people to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, just come out in the spring, March 18th to the 20th at Woodland Altars, and get to meet everybody. And you'll meet a lot of interesting people
Absolutely.
with like minds, very open, and enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for producing the DVD. Like you say, it's been 25 years and nobody's bothered to do it. But
Yeah.
It's
and in that time, I've written books and taught here and there, and then you guys come along and boom. So I can't say enough to thank you.
Oh man, you're so welcome. I mean, your wife was definitely Terri. Big shout out to her.
Absolutely.
Terri sings with Ravens Rivera. She has was definitely the idea. Is like, oh well, that would be incredible. You know, capturing Tom's tour.
Right.
So boom, we were totally into it. Just loved the idea and came out and really just shot everything in one day. Went through several phases of editing the last, however long it's been since it's been a little bit. And I think we landed on the edit that you see now is super solid and kind of got it in a really, really tight. And so it turned out we couldn't be more happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah,
And-
it's good. Very
and
good.
And of course, you being the driving force of all the knowledge base of everything that that we're kind of allowing you to tell your story, which was great, and share your knowledge with the impact crater and
Oh,
the
yeah.
area in general. So
Yeah.
I'm like a capacitor. I'm collecting energy.
perfect.
I was about to say, the next time you come back, I'm going to have the same sentiment of I have more questions because you're only
Good.
going to gather more than I can answer. So it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
We should take you out digging sometime.
I would
Oh
love that.
man,
Yeah.
I would
please.
absolutely love that.
Go into the past.
I've gone morel hunting when you said earlier one time with a former coworker in Southern Ohio. And I'd never gone morel hunting, and all I told him was, "You just have to show it to me once. I just need to see it in the landscape. You won't have to worry about me the rest of the day because
Be a morale
all of
spotter.
his, friends in the sticks were looking at me like I had hair down to my shoulders at the time. I was wearing the 5-fingered toed shoes, and they were like, "Who is this idiot?" And we got done, and the guy that was sizing me up, and I knew he was. Afterwards, he goes, "Man, I had you all wrong."
Yeah.
He goes, "I thought," and I said, "I
We
know
grew up in the
exactly what you
country.
thought." I said, "I'm a city kid that grew up a country
Yep.
kid.
We
I
are
love to
country
be in the
kids.
woods, finding snakes, turtles, frogs, whatever animal, but I would love to go on a dig anytime."
All right.
Yeah,
Anytime.
love to.
You say when?
Yeah, and we're The Strange Road. And
Absolutely.
you can find us on all social media platforms at The Strange Road.
Yep.
The YouTube page has been really rocking.
Yep.
You guys are liking what we're doing on all the audio platforms,
Yep.
Spotify,
Instagram, Facebook,
Google,
what's your handles?
Apple Podcasts,
Where you at on Insta?
Instagram, at Mikey Leisner, at Bub Branley.
At Bub Branley _
Twitter, you can find us. Reach out
Yep.
to us. But one thing that really, really, really helps us is going to that YouTube. If you like our YouTube page,
Please hit
subscribe and hit that notification bell, because when we go live, you'll immediately get notified.
Yeah.
And we're not, we go live at a lot of different times.
Right.
So, if you're subscribed and you hit that notification bell, you'll know
Exactly
at least to
when we start.
remember, hey, I'm at work, or I can't watch it now, but, I want to tune in later.
Yeah.
And it does help us with YouTube and then also in Spotify, Apple Podcasts is
Leave a
giving us
review,
that
a
5-star rating.
Yeah.
5-star bust.
That's what Justin England says.
5
5 stars or bust.
5 stars or
You're
bust.
not leaving 5, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. But
Yeah.
because we have to work with an algorithm, right? We're fighting AI. And I like to think that this conversation would like to be heard by more people than just me and Mike and Kyle and anybody else that's tuned in. And that's what we're really trying to do. And that's what I was saying earlier, preserving this information and giving it a platform to have a reach to where your 25 years of touring and giving those tours obviously had an impact, but can we amplify you just like Serpent Mound amplifies the energy of those around it?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And
That's our mission.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit, Terri is the mechanism for this happening.
Right.
Totally.
If
Totally
it wasn't
is.
for Terri, you guys probably wouldn't be interviewing me right now.
Percent.
So she kind of like she's a catalyst that brings it all together.
Yeah.
And even though she's not here, she is.
I'm
Absolutely,
glad you brought that
100%.
up.
I'm sure
because
she's watching us right
I've
now.
felt
100%.
Terri in this room the entire time we've been here. So,
Good.
Absolutely.
you know, and guys, we have a Facebook group coming very soon. Right now, we have a Facebook page, which is going to probably end up being more geared towards the business side and the video production stuff that we do. And but the Facebook group is really something we learned from Tom and Terri. They have rockin' Facebook groups.
Right.
The House of Fake Cops Facebook group and the Alternate Universe Rock Shop.
Yeah.
Then you guys have the Serpent Mound Star Knowledge group.
How
And
would you
so-
expect anything less?
Yeah,
I
and
would.
they've
I
got
mean-
so many people interacting constantly. So
Yeah.
we got a Facebook group coming. Keep an eye out for that.
Please do.
We're constantly putting more videos and everything, trying to be consistent. We appreciate everyone.
Also
okay.
follow Kyle Stonard
Yes.
on Instagram because that is the wizard.
Yep.
He puts up a lot of interesting links and information about our show, etc. So check him out as well.
Yep. Make sure you follow Kyle. He's got a bunch of RC car reels
Yeah,
and
he's into
awesome
it.
analog
He's into it.
photography. So that's all for us, guys. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
Thank you for hanging
We're
out.
out.
Thank you.
Tom
Peace.
Johnson, thank
Tom.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome
Appreciate
time.
it.
Ball.
All right.
See you guys.
Later.